Diagonal forward sections are continued through to the front hairline. Each section is combed and cut at 90 degrees, extending the graduation guideline. The last section is over-directed back to the previous to allow for the recession area. Cross-check horizontally. The technique is repeated on the opposite side. A profile section is taken from the front hairline to the crown. Using the crown as a guide to length, the hair is combed to 90 degrees and point cut square. Maintaining the length at the front hairline. Across the top, horizontal sections are taken. The hair is combed to 90 degrees and the line point cut from the profile parting to the outer edge. The choice to layer round or square can be made depending on suitability. In this case, the line is cut square. The last horizontal section is once again over-directed back to allow for the recession area. The opposite side is point cut in the same way. And the balance checked. The hair is now ready for blow drying. Power dry to remove excess moisture. And use a flat brush to create a textured finish. The shape is personalized to suit the individual. The perimeter is detailed using a combination of point cutting and surface channeling. Here, the hair has been coloured using the reverse diagonal horseshoe technique, which can be viewed on the Toni & Guy Classic Colour series. Graduated layer recap. Back and sides, below horseshoe. Partings and sections, slight diagonal forward. Distribution moves from 90 degrees to over-directed. Elevation is also 90 degrees to over-directed. And the cut is a vertical graduation. Above horseshoe. Partings and sections move from pivoting radials into diagonal forward. Distribution moves from 90 degrees to over-directed. Elevation is also 90 degrees to over-directed. And the cut is a vertical graduation. Top. Partings and sections move from a profile into a horizontal. Distribution moves from 90 degrees into over-directed. Elevation moves from 90 degrees into over-directed. And the line is point cut square. Personalizing is an essential part of the Toni and Guy philosophy. Texturizing techniques are used to adapt classic shapes to suit the individual. On the last video in this series, we introduced techniques such as point cutting, slicing, brick cutting, and razoring, which expand the classic portfolio to accommodate all lengths and textures of hair and allow the stylist to develop their creativity for the benefit of the client. The classic bob is a one-length cut above shoulder level. It is eternally fashionable and can be adapted for both straight and wavy hair. A natural parting is taken from the front hairline and brought diagonally back to the profile at the nape. Diagonal forward sections are taken from the profile to the back of the ear, below the occipital. With the head slightly forward, the hair is combed to natural fall using the fine teeth of the comb. Holding the hair in the comb, the line is cut square from the profile to the outer edge. The opposite side is then worked in piecemeal, from the profile to the outer edge. Diagonal forward sections are taken from the profile to the top of the ear. The hair is combed to natural fall, held in the comb, and cut to follow the guideline. Check balance. A horseshoe section is taken from above the occipital to the recession area. With the head upright, the hair is combed to natural fall using the wide teeth of the comb. The line is cut square from the profile to the back of the ear, through to the side. Allow for the protrusion of the ear by relaxing tension. Exactly the same technique is worked on the opposite side. Check balance. Horseshoe sections are continued up the head until the natural parting is reached. The hair is combed with the wide teeth of the comb to minimize tension and graduation. Check balance. Be aware of the crown movement. The hair is now ready for blow drying. Using a styling brush, section in exactly the same way as for the cut. Here the hair has been coloured using a half-head highlighting technique, which can be viewed on our classic colouring series. After blow drying, the line is checked freehand and any excess graduation removed. Classic bob recap. Partings and sections move from diagonal forward into horseshoe. Distribution is at natural fall. Elevation is 0 degrees, held in the comb. And the line is cut square. Personalising is an essential part of the Toni and Guy philosophy. Texturising techniques are used to adapt classic shapes to suit the individual. On the last video in this series, we introduced techniques such as point cutting, slicing, brick cutting and razoring, which expand the classic portfolio to accommodate all lengths and textures of hair and allow the stylist to develop their creativity for the benefit of the client. Graduated bob combines a graduation technique through the nape area with a one-length line through the sides. A natural parting, in this case a profile, is taken from the front hairline to the nape. Diagonal forward sections are taken from the occipital to the back of the ears. A pivoting diagonal forward section is taken from the profile down to the hairline. With the head slightly forward, using the fine teeth of the comb, the section is combed T to the parting and elevated to 45 degrees. The line is cut to decrease in length, holding the fingers parallel to the parting. Another pivoting diagonal forward section is taken from the profile to the outer edge of the hairline, subdividing the previous section to use as a guide. This section is also combed T to the parting, elevated to 45 degrees, and cut to follow the guideline. The next section is taken in the same way and the technique repeated. On the opposite side, the sections are taken in the same manner and the technique repeated. Note the change in hand position. Diagonal forward sections are taken from above the occipital to the top of the ears. A pivoting diagonal forward section is continued. The hair is combed T to the parting, elevated to 45 degrees and cut to follow the graduated guideline. Pivoting diagonal forward sections are continued on both sides and the technique repeated. Check balance, both technically and visually. A horseshoe section is taken on a slightly diagonal forward angle, from below the crown to the front hairline. This section is then subdivided into diagonal forward sections to allow greater control of the elevation. With the head upright, the hair is combed to natural fall and elevated to a stationary 45 degrees at the back. the line is cut to follow the guideline. The elevation is gradually lowered to a 1 finger's depth at the side and cut parallel to the parting. Repeat the process on the opposite side. Check balance. Horseshoe sections are then continued up the head until the natural parting is reached. Be aware of the crown movement. Relax tension if necessary. The hair is dried using a styling brush. Section with diagonal forward partings, starting at the nape and working up the head shape. The shape is cross-checked. The graduation is filtered through the back to detail the weight line. Here, the hair has been coloured using the crescent pivot technique, which can be viewed on the Toni & Guy Classic Colour series. The hairline is detailed with point cutting. The perimeter is cut freehand to remove any excess graduation. The fringe is personalised to suit the model's face shape. Here it is softened using point cutting, but left long and rounded. Graduated bob recap. Nape. Partings and sections move from a diagonal forward into a pivoting diagonal forward. Distribution is t to the parting. Elevation is 45 degrees and the line is cut parallel to the parting. Above nape. Partings and sections move from a horseshoe into a diagonal forward. Distribution moves from T to natural 4. Elevation moves from a stationary 45 degrees at the back to 1 finger's depth at the side. And the line is cut parallel to the parting.